Welcome back to Movie Recapped. Today I will show you a horror, mystery, thriller film from 2019, titled Ma. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A car with a trailer can be seen driving on a small road. Maggie is sleeping in the car and her mother Erica is driving her and their dog to a new home, back where her mother grew up. The following morning the two of them are preparing for school and for work. Maggie gets to school and as soon as the bell rings for class, she gets lost in the hallways. She finds a student in a wheelchair and helps her with it. During lunch break, Maggie is too nervous to join the other kids in the lunchroom, so she decides to eat in the library. The popular kids come inside and Haley introduces herself to her and invites her to a party over the weekend. Maggie declines her invite, telling her that she'll be going to a music festival with her mom. Haley teases her a little and leaves with the others. Simultaneously, Erica meets Stu, her new coworker. She tries to get used to her new job. The next day, Erica is stomping around the house, dressed for work and looking for something. She tells Maggie that she has to work and they won't be going to the festival. The kid decides to text Haley about the party and later she picks her up in a van from her house. There are 3 others in the van: Daryl, Andy, and Chaz. They inform her that instead of the party, they'll drive around and get drunk. Daryl is trying to get someone to buy them liquor in front of a store, while the rest of them are still in the van. He can't make anyone buy them booze, so they decide to let Maggie try. She's unsuccessful in the beginning too, but suddenly a woman with a dog, Sue-Ann, approaches and Maggie asks her to buy them the booze. The woman is reluctant and doesn't want to do it. Then Andy comes out of the van and they have a little exchange in which he manages to convince her to do it for them. They wait for her in the van with her dog and she brings their booze in a box. As she leaves, Chaz tells Andy that Sue-Ann has a crush on him. They drive off when suddenly she stops them and gives them their change back. The kids arrive at the best drinking spot in town. Andy and Maggie chat a little, making a connection. Meanwhile, Sue-Ann is at work, checking who the kids are on Facebook. When she finds the number for Andy's dad's security company, her boss yells for her to come and help. A bit later, she calls the number and Andy's dad Ben picks up. She tells him that his son might be out drinking. Her boss comes in and yells at her for being on the phone instead of working and tells her to leave for the day. The kids are already drinking at the spot, when suddenly a police car arrives. The cop tells them that somebody told him that they were there. He frisks Andy and tells him that his dad sent him there, but because he doesn't like him, he will give them 10 minutes to pack up and leave before he comes back to check. Later, Erica waits for Maggie at home and instantly starts scolding her for smelling of pot. They argue about the decisions Maggie is making, but she gets the last word and storms out. The next day, Erica drops her dog off at the vet where Sue-Ann promises to take care of him well. Sue-Ann watches her leave and her boss yells at her again for not doing her job. That night, Erica asks Maggie if she wants to watch movies with her, but she says she will go out. Her mom tells her to call her if she needs a ride back home, promising she won't be mad. Later, Maggie is with her friends in the van and they're waiting for Sue-Ann to get them booze from the store again. They see her putting the box in her truck, when she comes over and tells them to meet her down the road for the handoff. The kids follow her to a house and Andy gets out to get the booze. When he comes back he tells his friends that Sue-Ann has invited them to drink in her basement. They decide to do it and when they walk inside, she says that she would rather they drink safely with her supervision. Sue-Ann tells them her house rules: no cussing, no spitting on the floor and no going upstairs to the house. She also takes Andy's keys, so she can check if he's fit to drive before they leave. Daryl calls her ma and asks for some snacks, as she walks out of the basement. They instantly start drinking and taking photos of themselves in the basement. Sue-Ann checks their Instagram to see what they're posting, then walks back down with the snacks. Chaz antagonizes Sue-Ann, telling her that she can fix up the basement better for partying, but she decides to show him something even cooler than that. She takes out a gun and points it straight to his face, then tells him to strip completely. When he does that, Sue-Ann laughs at him and says that the gun doesn't even work. Everyone relaxes and Chaz asks Ma if they're cool, but she hasn't decided yet. Before they leave, she checks Andy if he's sober enough to drive and Maggie thanks him politely for letting them stay there. She greets them off. Sue-Ann has a flashback of the time she was a teenager and a bunch of popular kids asked her to join them in the best drinking spot. The next day Sue-Ann is in her basement where she finds her old high school yearbook, then looks for Maggie on Facebook, as well as her mother. Later, she's at the casino where Erica works. Erica serves 2 customers who turn out to be her high school friends. It's Ben and his girlfriend Mercedes. She's drunk and starts asking Erica about her life and why she moved back home. Sue-Ann sees that there's a fuss going on where they're standing, with Erica being very uncomfortable in the situation. Eventually, the security guard makes Ben take Mercedes out of the casino. Sue-in seems to know them too. Later, Stu has come over Erica's house to pick her up and take her to a seminar. She'll be gone for a few days, so she tells Maggie to be good and not have anyone over in the house. Meanwhile, Erica spies on Mercedes as she's jogging. That day, the kids are walking to the van after school and try to make Maggie invite them over while her mom is out of town. When they reach the van, Chaz finds a box and Andy opens it, to find booze inside. Sue-in calls the girls and asks them over to her house. She spies on them as they cheerfully get ready to party. That night, Sue-in's house is surrounded by teenagers and the basement is full of them too, as the group comes in. They notice she's made some changes to the place, as she greets them in with some snacks. Sue-in tells Maggie to call her Ma and hugs her. The party keeps going and Ma joins the kids. They all dance together on music from the late 70s and have fun with her, but Maggie seems suspicious. At one point Sue-in moves away from the party and has another flashback to her teenage years. They're all at the drinking spot and the boy who asked her there sits beside her, chatting her up. She's nice to him, but he is just pretending to like her. Back at the party, Maggie is smoking pot and Daryl helps her light the spoon, as Ma approaches them and touches the boy awkwardly, prompting him to leave. She talks to Maggie about her mom, when Chaz interrupts them by offering a toast for Ma. She refuses to drink, but the kids convince her to have one shot. Suddenly, a noise is heard upstairs and Ma goes to check, lying that it's just an appliance. She goes up and gets a syringe from the fridge. At the party, Haley needs to pee and when she sees there's a line in front of the toilet, makes Maggie come with her up to the house. They enter and a bell chimes. Haley finds a toilet and Maggie keeps watch, when she hears something on the second floor. It's Ma, yelling at someone. She goes in to get Haley, but as they open the door of the toilet, Ma jumps them and makes them go back downstairs. When they do, Maggie and the group leave the party, with her very upset. Later, Sue-in is seen cutting up one of her photos and looking at herself in the mirror. The next day, she sends a million text messages to Maggie, asking to be forgiven for yelling at them. At school, Haley tells her that she has sent messages to her too, when another student joins them and asks if Ma would allow them to have a birthday party in her basement. Haley tells her that they probably can, as Maggie admires the bracelet that her boyfriend gave her. Andy waves Maggie over and asks her out on a date. She asks him what took him so long to do it. The entire group gets together and jokes with Maggie and Andy, when they suddenly run into Ma in front of the school. She asks them to come over, but the boys decline. Maggie and Haley remain back to talk to her and decline too, but when Haley starts teasing her, Ma gets really serious and angry about it. She leaves the girls creeped out. Later, Ma finds some other kids to take to her home and they follow her there. When they reach the house, they throw an egg at her window, call her a loser and drive off, leaving her crying in her truck. That night, Erica comes home and tells Maggie about how her seminar went. The girl tells her mom about Andy and her mom is happy for her. The next night, Ma is seen putting on lipstick, then going down to the basement and partying with the kids. Maggie and Andy arrive, but she tells him that they'll wish the girl happy birthday and leave immediately. The party is massive. Ma greets the two of them and Andy goes to get a drink. She tells Maggie to be careful about boys, but Maggie makes a comment that she sounds like her mother, which really upsets Ma. In a few moments, Ma gets some shots and makes Maggie drink hers too. The two stay at the party, dancing and kissing, while Ma looks over them jealously. Maggie gets dizzy very fast and loses consciousness. She wakes up in her own bed the next day and quickly realizes that she's missing the earrings her mom gave her. Her and Andy go to the mall and he teases her for the previous night. She tells him that she doesn't want to hang out at Ma's anymore and that she doesn't want him going over there either. Meanwhile, Ma is at work and is putting a bottle of diazepam back in the cabinet. Later that night, Maggie and Andy are making out in her house, when her mom comes home. The three of them sit at the dining room table and talk. He tells Erica about his dad and she tells him that they went to high school together. Erica tells him that she also knows his dad's new girlfriend and he says that she's a bitch. She goes to get them some dinks, when Andy gets a message from Ma. The next day, Haley tells Maggie that she should block Ma, like she did. Then she posts a story telling everyone to block Ma, which she sees and gets super upset over. Later, she re-watches the story while at work and gets another flashback. In it, she goes into a room and someone tells her to close the door. That night, Maggie's phone wakes her up. She gets another message from Ma. In the message, she asks her and the others to come over, then asks if they're mad at her and in the end begs them to meet her the next day at the drinking spot. The group finds her there the next day. Ma immediately tells them that she has cancer and that she's been taking lots of meds. They feel sorry for her and apologize. Andy goes over to hug her, but Haley notices she has their friend's bracelet on her wrist. As she leaves, she invites them to come over on Saturday. Haley and Maggie follow her to work and Haley tells her about the bracelet. She also tells Maggie that she's missing a ring and Maggie tells her about the earrings she's been missing. They go to Ma's house to check if the stuff is there. Once inside, they go to the second floor and find it locked from the outside. They go into her room and see that she has pictures of them all over. Maggie finds a page from her yearbook and Haley finds a picture of Andy with a picture of his dad taped to the back. Simultaneously, Ben walks into the vet's office with his cat and recognizes Sue-Ann immediately. He says that they should catch up sometime and asks her to a pub that night. She agrees to meet him there at 6. In another flashback from her teenage years, Ben has handed her a message to meet him in the closet. One of the girls in her class, that seems to be Erica, doesn't like that. Meanwhile, back at Ma's, Maggie finds a picture of her mother in the yearbook. Haley wants to show her something, when suddenly the girl in the wheelchair shows up in the room, asking what they're doing there. She says that Sue-Ann is her mom and that she can walk, but that she's not supposed to because she's sick. Maggie introduces her to Haley as Jeannie. She also tells them that she hasn't been to school lately because her sickness has gotten worse. Or at least that's what her mom had told her. Haley is confused that Sue-Ann is her mom. In the meantime, Ma is driving home. The girls continue talking and Jeannie tells them that she can hear them in the basement sometimes and they tell her to join them there next time. Jeannie then tells them to leave, so that her mom doesn't find them in her room. As the girls get ready to leave and find the door locked, Ma drives in and comes inside the house. She notices that someone has moved her things, as the girls sneak away from her. They leave through the basement and she goes upstairs. Later, she's getting ready to go out and meet Ben, when Jeannie asks if she can go back to school. Ma tells her that she's too sick and gives her a shot, telling her that she should cut all of her hair off before it falls on its own. She says that she doesn't want other kids to make fun of her and that that's why she has to stay there with her. Next, Sue-Ann is at the pub, waiting, when she has another flashback of Mercedes teaching her what to do when she meets Ben in the closet. He arrives in the pub and instantly orders a drink. She orders a Coke. They chat about their schoolmates and reunions, but Sue-Ann then mentions his wife, who died of cancer. She tells him that she was also married, but it didn't work out. Ben shows her a tracking device that he had installed in his son's van and asks her why he'd been over at her house very often. She doesn't know what to say, but he thinks she's trying to get back at him and begins to belittle her. He gives her a warning, that if she sees his son again, he won't call the police, but handle the situation himself. The next day, Sue-Ann is researching how to find a tracker on a car, when her boss comes in and tells her to do her job, again. Maggie tells Andy everything her and Haley have found in Ma's house, but he defends her, explaining that his mom acted strange on cancer medication too. She tells him that she doesn't think Sue-Ann has cancer and that she's in love with him the same way she was in love with his dad. Maggie goes home and finds Sue-Ann is there as well, talking to her mom. She tries to sneak out, but Erica sees her and calls her in. Both her and Sue-Ann pretend that they don't know each other. Her mom says that they went to school together. Sue-Ann leaves quickly and tells Maggie to look after her dog. As she's walking out, she has another flashback about the moment she met Ben in the closet. It turns out that the boy she was with wasn't him at all, but another boy. The whole school makes fun of her. As she's driving home, she sees Mercedes on the street and runs her over, without even a flinch. That night, Maggie is doing homework, when she hears her dog crying. She finds him bleeding and thinks she sees someone running away. At the vet's office, Sue-Ann takes more vials of drugs and walks into the pound, where she has locked her dead boss's body in a cage. Maggie and Erica stress over their wounded dog and Erica decides to call Sue-Ann, but Maggie tells her not to. She tells her mom the whole story about Ma. Simultaneously, Ben knocks on Sue-Ann's door. He's looking for his son there, when suddenly Sue-Ann shows him the tracker and sedates him. Ben tries to go after her, but faints. Back at Maggie's, Erica is pissed about everything involving Ma. She grounds Maggie, telling her that she won't be going anywhere or seeing anyone until the summer break. Meanwhile, Sue-Ann has restrained Ben to her bed. He wakes up and she threatens to cut off his tool, just to scare him. She tells him that she won't get her revenge that way and starts an IV with the dog's blood. Sue-Ann cuts his hand open and sedates him again. Later, Erica tells Maggie that they'll spend the next day together. Then she goes to the liquor store and sees Sue-Ann there. She immediately starts yelling at her, but the conversation quickly turns awkward when Sue-Ann starts talking about high school. Maggie gets a message from Ma, showing her that Andy is at her place and that she also has her earrings. The girl steals her mom's car and goes to Ma's house, finding a party there underway. She confronts Andy immediately as she walks in, as Ma watches her get angry with him. The entire group is there for Chaz's birthday. All of them are drunk and drugged and ready to party. Meanwhile, Ma goes up to Jeannie's room and tells her that it's time for bed. She gives her some pills and leaves. Then she bolts the basement door from the outside. Maggie realizes that something is going on, but can't seem to find a way out, as the others keep fainting. She walks up to the house and gets in, but unfortunately the main door is locked as well. Maggie hears a noise upstairs that she thinks it's Jeannie and goes up to help her. Once there, she finds Ben, but Ma sneaks up behind her and sedates her too. The next morning, Erica wakes up at their home and Maggie wakes in Ma's basement. The entire group is there, still unconscious, including one other classmate. The girl wakes up, but Maggie signals her to stay quiet, as Ma is cutting open Chaz's shirt. She burns him with an iron and the other girl freaks out, trying to get away. Ma hits her over the head. Then, she walks over to Haley and stitches her lips together. Meanwhile, Erica is trying to wake Maggie, but when she goes to check in her room and sees that she's not there, she calls Stu and asks him to come over. Back at the basement, Ma tells Maggie how hard it is when no one asks you out to party. Then, Ma paints over Daryl's face with white paint, saying they only have room for one of them. Suddenly, Andy wakes up and asks Ma if she's mad at them. She unlocks his restraints and hugs him, saying that they are the cutest couple. Andy tells her that he loves her and they kiss, but Ma stabs him, knowing that he's lying to her. She goes over to Maggie, when there's a ring on the door. It's a police officer asking about the cars parked outside her house. She acts like she doesn't know anything about it. Maggie makes a racket in the basement, but as soon as the cop suspects something, Jeannie arrives. That aids Ma in sending the police officer away. As he leaves, he hears Maggie shouting from the basement. Suddenly, Ma shoots him. Ma makes Jeannie drag the cop's body inside. Simultaneously, Stu arrives at Erica's and they both go to find Maggie together. Ma comes back in the basement and tells Maggie to help her arrange her friends for a picture, or else she'll kill them all. Maggie does it and then takes the picture, as Ma posses for her. Then, she strings her up on a pole, but hears Jeannie calling for her and goes to check. The girl hits her over the head, pushing her down the stairs, as a candle falls over and starts a fire. Haley and the others start waking up. Jeannie comes down and helps Maggie down, then helps the rest with the restraints. Since the stairs are on fire, they can't get out and start banging on the hatch. Ma grabs Jeannie and at the same time Stu and Erica open the basement hatch. Erica and Maggie stay behind, as Jeannie begs Maggie for help. Erica apologizes to Ma for what happened, but doesn't let her daughter help Jeannie. As Ma is dragging her away, Maggie pulls away from her mom, grabs the knife and stabs her, releasing Jeannie from her grip. Erica gets Jeannie and Maggie out, but Ma stays back and goes into the house. She sees them through her window and goes up to the second floor, lying down next to Ben, with the house completely in flames. The fire department arrives too late. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.